Shannon looks good, doesn't she, guys? Look at her dress. She looks really good. Can everybody hear me? And the microphone's not on. Should I put it on? Yeah? I'll put it on.
We were going to sit in the back of the room so we didn't have to.
I don't want you to miss one word. Richard, okay. Hey, everybody. My name's Carl. I'm an alcoholic. Hey, Carl. Thank you, Shannon. Appreciate it. So I get to speak here like once a year. I get asked to speak here, which is an honor. This is the first place I ever came to when I came down here to North Carolina as a alcoholic and a drug addict. The only reason I came here was to get away from my mother because she was talking a lot and it was driving me crazy. And so someone said, maybe you should go to AA because they were trying to save my life. And I couldn't understand that at the time. And it took me a long time to understand that. This is the only place that has ever brought me any kind of serenity or has brought my relationships back, my health back, and my ability to deal with life so much better. So you can hear from my accent, I'm not from here. And I'm from a place called Patchogue, Long Island. And where I grew up is basically there are no traffic lights, just stop signs. And so I grew up basically fishing, playing ice hockey, baseball, all those things. There were no such things when I grew up as video games. So you went outside and you played, you came in. And I had like a really decent childhood, right? And then I went on to college. And when I went to college, I left Patchogue and I went to Northeastern University, which is in the middle of Boston. And everything changed for me there. Okay, I was introduced to women. I was introduced to drinking. And I was introduced to, in the 80s, when you drank, you did cocaine, 95% of the time. And all of that was something that I knew of drinking, but I didn't know anything about drugs. At the time, when we were in high school, we heard of them, but I didn't even know a person that did drugs. I didn't even know a person, for me, that drank too much. I didn't know that. When I hear these stories, like I was 12 years old and started drinking, it's like, it blows me away. So, I was in college for playing ice hockey. I got a scholarship there, and I totally ruined that. I drank too much, and they threw me off the team. When they threw me off the team, they threw me out of college. So now I was working in in Boston, and I was trying to keep afloat. And I met this guy, and he says, you know what you need to do? You need to go on Grateful Dead tour. That's the answer right now, okay? So I thought it was sound advice, and I did it. So I went on Grateful Dead tour. I met Amy on Grateful Dead tour. That's the love of my life, who we didn't get together at the time, but I met Amy on Grateful Dead tour, and I also met how to really drink, right? How to really do all those extra things that I would never have done. I could swear to you guys that there's no way I would do this, and that. Maybe some of you can imagine what that is, and maybe some of you have experienced the life I've lived. So I was on Dead Tour, and it was fun at first. It was filled with going to different cities, going to exploring the United States, going to state parks, going to all these coliseums, stadiums, listening to great music. Because when I followed the Grateful Dead, what would happen was The Who would come in next after the Grateful Dead. Pink Floyd would come in, the Stones. Just an amazing amount of groups would come in the next day for when the Dead were playing. So I got turned on to a lot of good music, a lot of really cool people. They are way cooler than me, than I've ever been. And they experienced all these interesting people from basically all around the United States and some parts of Canada and also some other parts of the world. They were not as many, but so I got turned on to this culture, and the whole time it was about drinking, and drinking had this really good vibe behind it. It didn't have this negative connotation. Does anyone know what connotation means? Anyway, I lost a lot of my vocabulary. Maybe some of you did too. So anyway, it had really good feelings. I didn't have it was awful, terrible. Every time I drank, it was a nightmare. No, I had these really good times behind it. That would be one of the reasons I had a really hard time giving it up when I didn't have really good times with it. See, because I could unconsciously, my disease could go back. Hey, it's fun. It doesn't matter all those negative consequences. Let's just think about the fun ones. And that, I had a struggle with that. Not aware, though. I wasn't aware of that. Like, I can look back at it after I did my steps. They're here now, right? Yeah. There. After I did my steps, I could look back and see that. But while I was in the grip of it, I couldn't see anything. So what happened was I was kind of producing acid, LSD, and it became treason against the United States government to make it. It happened in 1989, and I did not want to go to federal prison for 25 years. So I decided that I was going to leave Dead Tour, and I was going to go to Hawaii, right? And so I moved to Hawaii, and Hawaii was this beautiful place, and it was everything I ever dreamed of. But the one problem there was I was there, right? So here I was, an alcoholic, and I didn't have any kind of way to stop myself from repeating everything I did on the mainland in this beautiful place. Now, I am the person that gets it together financially, starts a company, makes money, and is able to kind of live okay, right? And then destroy it. Now, my destroying could be many different forms. Okay, so what I did to destroy this beautiful place in Hawaii, that I had built a home on the ocean, that I was paying high taxes, $84 a year. It was extreme, right? So I had this perfect little life, right? My way of doing it was coming up with a plan. My plan was that I was going to sell the house and become a heroin smuggler. This was going to be a really good solution and direction for my life. You're starting to get the thing that, while alcohol is in my mind, I think I'm thinking properly. I think I'm making smart moves, completely the opposite, right? So I get this idea, I take this house, I sell it to someone, I get this money, and I fly to Thailand, and this is before 9/11. And so you could jump on a plane with it and do anything you wanted in those days. It was much easier to get around. So anyway, I go do this, and I'm doing really good. Anybody do anything with illegal substances and you did really good until you didn't do really good? Remember those days? So anyway, my great plan was that I put it in surfboards, kilos in surfboards, make surfboards, and I could bring them back to Hawaii. It worked out pretty good until the day it didn't. And so I ended up in Thailand prison. I ended up there for 4 years in Thailand prison. I was looking at 440 years. So 4 years was a cakewalk, right? What happened was they robbed the property room. They had nothing on me. All those years I was going to court. Didn't understand the word the whole time I was going to court. But I was going to court, and they had to throw the case out. When they threw the case out, they put me on a plane. I got on the plane. What do you think is the first thing I did when I got on that plane? You don't know. You're trying. You're thinking. Everybody's got little things. I ordered 2 screwdrivers. That's what you're supposed to do when you get on a plane, right? Order 2 screwdrivers after you've just went through this harrowing experience because of my alcohol drug abuse. And I put myself there. So that's the next thing. no knowledge that alcohol was the reason I kept going through all of these problems. I would get great things put in front of me, just take them out, wipe them out, unconsciously, but I did it. I did all of it. I can't wait. Who's done a fourth and fifth step in here? If you haven't done it yet, it's the best thing in the world. Because you get to look at your stuff you do. So when I did that, it was so eye-opening. And yet, duh. You know what I mean? But long story short, I come back and I'm humiliated in Hawaii, so I end up leaving there because I don't know how to feel good about myself. And I've tore it all apart, and I'm just this lowlife who just blew it all. So I go back and I come to New York. I try to get going, I meet a woman, and she's trying to help me, and I'm actually doing okay, right? So, once again, I start a company there, and I get like 7 trucks, and I'm working in Manhattan and Brooklyn, and I buy 2 buildings, and things are good, and then they're not good. My drinking becomes abusive. Not abusive to her, to myself. And I cannot control myself, and I've got this company, these homes, this relationship, destroy it. Destroy it, destroy it, destroy it. So the woman has a brain in her head and says, you got to get out of here. You're killing us. You're destroying my life, and you're destroying yourself. You can't live here anymore. So, okay. She says, go live with your mother. Your mother wants you, go live with your mother. Well, I don't know if anybody's experienced this before, but go be an active alcoholic drug addict and go live with your mother who wants you. That changes. Anyway, I come down to North Carolina to come live with my mother. Oh, gosh, guys. I want to say that, okay, I have enough experience now to know that I've got to change. I've got to do something. I don't. I'm too thick-headed, or I'm just as thick-headed as you. I am just not catching on. So I come in here, and you guys start planting the seeds. I came in here 2009, Christmas Day, during the marathon. So if you think those marathons don't matter, if you don't want to sign up for them and come down here and be a part of them, they matter. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's come here to the marathon, maybe not in this room, but a lot of people come to the marathon. His name was Jim. He passed away sober a while ago. And he was a good guy, man. Anyway, he sat and talked to me right here. Everything was different. This thing was over here. I'm sure a lot of people know that already. And he sat here and talked to me for like 30 minutes. And I want to say that was the answer for me, but it wasn't. So 7 white chips later, I did the detox dance, where I'd go to detox, come out, I'm good, right? I do AA, just come in here, tell dirty jokes, look at girls and drink coffee, not really doing AA. Basically just kind of being here, not jumping into this thing. That's why you hear these expressions, they say it for a reason. Because here's the deal, you guys, if you do what 90% of us do in here, you will be drunk. If you do what 90% of we do in here, you will be drunk. It's only 10% of us that do AA. The other ones are just hanging out. And you're part of that. I hate to say it, you're part of it. I did it. That doesn't mean you can't join the 10% eventually. I'm just saying that's what happens in here. Okay, so I did that for 7 white chips. It's great to pick up a white chip, isn't it, guys? Your second or third or fourth or fifth one. It's a wonderful experience. Yeah, it's quite wonderful. Because what it means is that you had sobriety. You had hope. You had faith. You had friends. Sometimes our relationships back. Sometimes our kids, our family, the whole 9 yards. and we throw it to the wind again because of that drink. That thing in a glass, we throw it all away just to put that to our lips. So the 7th time I went to detox, they said, something I never heard before. Why don't you go to rehab? It's been said to me 1,000 times, but I finally heard it. I went to Samaritan Colony. Okay, my sobriety date is, when's my sobriety date again? December 15th. This is my sponsor, guys. He's a really good man. Has a lot of wisdom. If you have a sponsor that has a day more than you, sometimes you should rethink that. Get somebody that has a little bit of time because they have a lot more experience when you run into issues, and maybe somebody that is maybe in the same world you're in, the trades, or maybe in your home group, or lives kind of similar to your lifestyle. It really helps out. I found that to be the case for me. So my sobriety date is December 15th, 2016. What does that mean? Well, it just means I have 8 years. But it also means I waited till I was 55 years old to get sober. I look around this room right now, there's some young people here that have their whole lives ahead of them and don't have to follow me or people similar to me and get their whole lives together. My life has changed so much in 8 years. So I went to Samaritan Colony. God, I hated that place. The first 2 weeks are just this total change of me hanging out in the living room and drinking and watching repeat DVD movies and not paying my rent, not having enough to eat. Then when I did get money, just feed the dogs. You remember those glorious moments? They're wonderful experiences. So I finally, after 2 weeks, I started to sleep. I couldn't sleep. That was a nice experience. I was up for like 4 days, sleep 1 day. Up for 4 days, sleep. It was terrible, man. It was awful. Anyway, it was just a hiccup in time now. It was what I needed to go through to remind me how awful early recovery is. How awful it really is to come off these streets, the whatever you're coming off of, and to get sober. It's not a great experience. If you're on the fence right now about going out and having a drink, remind yourself what a great experience it was the day before you went to detox, the day before you came in here. Remember that. Don't forget it. I forgot it a lot. And I paid the consequences for forgetting it a lot. So I come in here, I go to Samaritan Colony, and then the second 2 weeks, I love that place. Because my perception changed. I changed. This world is beautiful around us, but not if we're looking at it with alcoholic mind and alcoholic ways and in that alcoholic people and the environment, all of that. It doesn't look beautiful. But now I wasn't in that anymore. My mind was clearing. My eyes were clearing. And I was finally kind of hopeful. I got hope, a slight amount of hope. And I thought to myself, maybe I could do it. So if anybody's relapsed before and you come back in, people want you to come back in. Just keep doing it. Nobody's going to want to sponsor you. Just keep doing it. People are expecting you to relapse. Just keep doing it. People are like, how you doing? Get the hell away from me. I've experienced these things. And guess who did it? Go to step 4 and 5, guys. You're going to find out who does it. I did it. Not your nightmare. I did my nightmare. And you get to find out you do your nightmare. And guess the other end of it. You're the one who can change that so you don't do your nightmare anymore. So I'm in Samaritan Colony, and I'm with, let's go to that 90%. Not any single one of them are here right now. And I'm not talking about this room. I'm talking about in the meetings. So there was I think around, I want to say around 24 to 30 guys that I saw going and coming as I was in there for for 28 days. This guy would leave, these new guys would come, stuff like that, right? We would actually move up the table as the weeks went by and the people went by. We'd move up to the front of the room. I know some guys from Samaritan Colony. That's how we did it. I don't know if you guys did it that way anymore. So out of those people, there's not one of them here. Remember that 90%? I didn't make that up. I didn't make that 90%. Here's the deal. You don't need to be a part of that 90% at all. That's on you. You get to be a part of the 10%. I'm sorry. I don't think anyone's going to be part of the 1%. But you could be part of the 10%. It was a joke. I tried. I know it went downhill. I know I tried. Anyway, so here I am. I'm getting out of Samaritan Colony, right? And I'm like, man, I might be able to do this. Finally. So John has asked me through my relapses, right? Have you made a decision? Oh, yeah, sure, I made a decision. Oh, yeah, sure, I made a decision. I didn't even know what it meant. But now when I went to detox, they didn't take me in detox. They said, you're going to ICU. When I went up to the bridge, this is before the safe house, they said, you're here for 7 days. They said, oh no, you're here for 21 days. I couldn't even walk. Okay, so they kept me there for 21 days. The gist of it is that I was lucky that I was off the streets for 51 days. I was very lucky. All the cards played out that way. It was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. You know, we can't wait to get through detox. We can't wait to get through that, to get back out there with our friends. To get back out there to go live our life again that we used to live in. Right? And it was just, that was me. That was my MO. Now I got out and I was not looking to go back with my friends. I was looking to really become a part of AA and build my friendships with people that really did care about me. I don't know if anybody experienced this before, that when I was in active non-recovery, my friends really weren't my friends. Anybody experience that? Show of hands? Yeah. Wow, you guys are lucky. You had really good drug addict and alcoholic friends. Congratulations. I didn't. My friends were just there for whatever could happen at the time. You know? And that is definitely the truth, because they're nowhere around anymore. They don't call me anymore, and I'm grateful for that. You know, I got lucky. So one of the things that I made up in my goals, you guys, there's a thing when they actually do stuff in the recovery program, and they make you sit down, they make you make a plan to leave there, right? And the plan was that, one of my plans was that I wasn't going to work for 3 months, because I told you about that money thing. You know, I'll make money and stuff like that, because I started looking at myself for real, being honest. It was a very difficult 3 months, but it was just in time for my foundation to recovery. Yeah, I wanted to go back there and work and everything so I could buy everything. I didn't need anything. I didn't need anything. I had clothes. I had people that would buy me dinner, and I also had enough to eat dinner. Or even lunch and breakfast too. So I was okay. So I didn't work for 3 months. On that 90th day, I got a job immediately. Trust me. But at least I fulfilled a goal to myself. I think that's the first goal that I have fulfilled to myself. 35 years. Think about that, guys. Those goals we set out that we're going to do, and we don't ever accomplish. And they could be the smallest of things. You look at it now like, I could do that with my eyes closed. But I couldn't do it. All those things. So I accomplished a goal. I call that a notch on my belt, and I don't mean it in the way that it's been meant by men, have said for years. It was a notch on my belt for recovery. You know, it was one, I needed as many as I could find to get. Any small little thing that allowed me to do something without getting drunk behind it was a notch on my belt. was a sign that I could do this thing recovery. I needed those things. I needed any little experience where I didn't get drunk behind, where I did get drunk behind it in the past. I needed that, and I looked at it, and I recognized it. And like I said, I started becoming clear-headed. I started being able to see what was happening in my world and starting to care about it. For a long time, I stopped caring about myself. I started caring about what was going on. I was just existing for that next drink. That's all I was doing. So I started to become clear-headed. I started to care about myself. And then the miracles of sobriety started happening. I got a really good job. And that was neat because I made good money, right? But I was also traveling, doing something I hadn't done before, so it was exciting, new. And I was in another state. And in the other state, you guys got that app with the little chair on it, the meeting guide app? If you don't have that app, get yourself that app. That way, in case you go somewhere on vacation or whatever you do, you can find a meeting anywhere. It's a great app. Unless you go to Nebraska. It doesn't work there. Okay? And that's where I went, to Nebraska. So I would call John up. Hey, John, I'm here at this town, and I need to find a meeting, and I don't know how to do it. He said, okay, hold on. And he'd find, hey, this is where you go. And he'd give me the address. I could put it in GPS and go to those meetings. Meetings are everywhere. I had no excuses. There was no excuses anymore. When I went and did the steps, this is what I was told. You're going to be at my garage at 11 o'clock on Sunday. Not because your pinky hurt you that day. You can't show up. Or my mother's getting her hair done. I have to be at the hair salon. Whatever bullshit excuses that I would come up in the past. I would find a reason to keep my disease alive in my mind. I would find that reason. I was working in North Carolina at the time. I would drive sometimes 2-3 hours that Sunday morning from a hotel room, because I did a lot of traveling, and make sure I was there at 11 o'clock. And I did my steps. If you're an alcoholic like me, your sponsor may say something like this: you have a window of time before you relapse. We need to put you into the steps now. And that's what they did for me, and I ran through the steps. I did all the steps. It's life-changing. You've heard it 100 times. I'm just here to say it again. It's life-changing. And now I had some way to not be a total dick, spaz, and idiot when I dealt with the human race. It was amazing. I could say thank you. I could say you're right, I'm wrong. That was a big friggin' deal. I don't know if you guys always had that under your belt. I didn't. I could go to my father and say, Dad, I really blew it. I destroyed our relationship. I was not a good son. I want to get our love back together again. Our relationships back together again. I call my father every Sunday. If I don't call him, he's like, how come you didn't call me? Something comes up. Why didn't you call me? At one time, my dad said, don't ever call this house again. You're destroying our family. I don't know if anybody else experienced that. It's one of the worst things to hear in the world. When your own father says, I can't deal with you anymore. Now, my family loves me, wants me around. That's the other end of it. So we love the war stories because that's all we communicated in. War stories. My war story is better than your war story. Oh, I got one just like that. Or let me re-up one. Let me re-up one? That's wrong. What is it? One-up one. Let me one-up one. All that bullshit we do. Now it's one-up a healthy life. Right? What have you done in your recovery you can one-up me? I'd love to hear it, man. I'll listen all day long. That's where my head's at now. Okay, what are you doing for your recovery? What am I doing for my recovery? You know, have you got any good friends now? And I do. You know, I went out to eat with a couple, and I met this man in my home group, and we hit it off because we have a lot of similarities, including redheads. We like redheads, but we have a lot of similarities, and one of them is we like fishing. Fishing was a giant part of it. You know, joking around, and we're AA and stuff like that. So we went fishing together, had a good time, said let's go out to eat, and we just went out to eat. I went out to eat, and I didn't say something stupid. Well, I'll need verification later, but I'm pretty sure I didn't say something stupid. It's outstanding, amazing. You know, I didn't get thrown out of the place I went to eat. I paid my bill. I drove here with a car license. My car is fully insured. I don't know if you guys experienced this before. It's a wonderful experience. It never would have happened without AA. It did not happen without AA. So I do my steps, and I go on this work venture, and then I'm out there, and I'm lonely because I'm by myself. So the way I found, I don't go on Tinder or anything like that. One way I found out to be able to talk to girls, meet girls, is Facebook. Right, so I'm on Facebook, and I'm probably talking to some Russian, a fat Russian, on the phone. I don't even know, sending me pictures of who they are. I don't know. We don't really know, right? But at least I'm like, hey, baby, on the phone. And so, God knows who I'm really talking to, right? That's as close as I'm getting in my recovery to being able to talk to a girl, right? So then what happens is I get this text out of the blue, and it's like, hey, girl, how you doing? It's Amy. I'm like, Amy? I'm like, Amy who? She goes, Amy from Chico, da-da-da-da-da. Oh, Amy. I had met her in 1987, and we started communicating. We started to remember. We had a lot of similarities, a lot more than you. Sorry, Eric, but there was a lot more similarities between me and Amy, and we hit it off. Now, Amy is also a woman in recovery, and so she was smart about how much we communicated, how far it went, because at the time she wasn't available. So I was like, damn. Finally talking to a real girl, and she's not available. So, in any case, but I was in recovery, and I knew how to conduct myself to her without acting inappropriate. So she kept talking to me. I didn't know how to act appropriate to a woman in the later years of my alcoholism. I forgot how to do it. I definitely knew how to do it in my early years. Those times things were fun. I knew how to be a gentleman. One of those other things that I morally lost along the way was the ability to be appropriate to women. I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know signs, tell signs, whatever the words are. And so it took me coming in here and learning many different ways in here how to treat another person, not only a woman, but another person. I learned a lot from you. I learned a lot from my mistakes. I learned a lot because I did not get drunk. So it gave me the ability to experience things sober. So then Amy became available. But Amy said, I'm available now, but I need a year to go through my process. Damn it, a year is so long. And then I remembered a year's not long. A year goes like that. Time goes like that. I remembered that. And I said, hold on, relax. Don't blow this. You like this woman. Everything's copacetic. Let her have whatever she wants to do. And if it's meant to be, if it's God's will, I heard myself saying that shit. If it's God's will. Yeah. I didn't believe in God when I first came in here. And I thought you were all idiots for believing in God. And I would tell you that to your face. That's the type of alcoholic I was in the beginning in here. I was a moron because I was defiant, because I wasn't open-minded, because I had no compassion, and I didn't know how to love my fellow man. That's where I was when I first came in here. It's an awful place to be at, but it was my reality. So that came about through the change of my defects through step 6 and 7, being dealt with by God, which I thought was not really happening, but something was happening. I was going through changes. My looking at the 4th and 5th step at myself for making amends, and the way you guys talked to me when I made amends, you were considerate, polite, and you did not shun me. You understood. And so all those things started to give me compassion and love, hope and faith, and change what I was. So the year was up. I counted every single second. No, the year was up. And then I don't really remember exactly to what happened as far as we became a little bit closer, and then we considered visiting each other. And I went and visited her. And then on my second time I went to visit her, this traumatic thing happened, and I went there, and I was in the middle of it, and I was just meeting her mother at the same time, and I did okay. I did okay. I didn't turn around and run away. I was in this position I was like neutral, if that makes any sense. And I kind of went through it from the other side. And her mother loves me. And we have a very good relationship. I don't know if it's just from that, but because I didn't blow it up and destroy it, because you taught me how to be a man instead of a coward and a kid, because it isn't going completely the way you thought it was going, to stomp my feet. I got taught to be a man and deal with the situation for what it was, not what I expected. So we went through that, and then Amy decided to come live with me. And I'm just telling you this because this is my experiences and how I handled them because of AA. Not because I'm the greatest handler of life ever. If you want to learn anything about life, just come to me and I'll tell you all about it. No, because my sponsor and people in AA taught me how to deal with life. So I'm telling you these little parts of my life and how I walk through it. Just like you guys have your parts in life. And I'm hoping that you walk through it. I'm hoping you stay the 10%. So we decided to stay with each other, to get together, and she moved out here. First we went to Nebraska. I left that job. I don't know if anybody's ever been in Nebraska. It's not a place when you live in a place like this, Hawaii. You don't want to be living in Nebraska. All right? So I don't want to be living in Nebraska. If you love Nebraska, good luck. But I don't want to live in Nebraska, so I left Nebraska. And we left Nebraska, we came here. So, anybody get into a relationship since they've been in recovery? Wow, a lot of lonely people in here. Okay. So anyway, if you did, you might have ran into a little trouble because I don't know how to be in a relationship with a woman in recovery. It's another thing I need to learn now. How do I be in a relationship with the same woman in recovery? So, went through some experiences, and we went through like a patch. We're like, well, maybe this isn't right. Maybe we're not meant for each other. Isn't it great to have sponsors, guys? Kind of give you a different way of looking at stuff. So my sponsor and her sponsor said, why don't you write a pros and cons list? I never would have thought of that in a billion years. And it makes total sense. Why do you love this woman? What do you see in this woman that's a pro? What's a con about this woman, about the relationship? Okay. I write little things like the, one-word things all the way down, because I'm a man, and she writes a long list. Writes out lines and paragraphs and everything like that. But it was the same thing. She just wrote it down, and I could just say it when I said it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get, and we're going to do, this is, imagine if I would have never thought about this. We're going to do FaceTime, because one is far away, and the other one's in California. Remember I told you she's from California? So she's from California. So we sit down in the living room, all ready to go. I'm going to have my sponsor. She's going to have her sponsor. We're going to sit next to each other. We got a list. My sponsor can't show up. So now it's me and the two girls, right? There's no friggin' way I'd stay in that when I was in recovery. I mean, in alcoholism, in active alcoholism. That is scary as hell. Okay? But I stayed in there. You taught me how to experience things, be open-minded, and fight for what you love, and follow through with your goals. And that's not to diminish Amy as a goal, but as being in a healthy relationship would be my goal. You taught me to do that, so I did it. And we went through everything. We realized, wow, we got so many pros. It was like this much cons and this much pros. We said, why don't we give it another year? We'll revisit it. We've never revisited it. What we've done is grow and grow and grow into this. Now remember something, I went to detox. I had a plastic bag with some clothes in it, and that's it. I have the house, the picket fence, a good career, friends, my health, all these things that this is what we want, right? The only thing I ever wanted was these things. I'm not looking to become, whatever. Though I just wanted the simplest things, and I have them. It's amazing. So recovery works, guys, is where I'm going with this. That's all this one. You guys want to hear a joke? You're going to love this joke. So you remember something. The one thing about it is when you guys do get a woman, they have to hear your jokes over and over again. It's the greatest. Or even your friends. Even your friends have to hear them. That's right. So you guys know about, do you know about Notre Dame? Well, Notre Dame was the hunchback of Notre Dame. You know what he did for a living? He rang a bell. Ding. Right, he rang a bell. And that way everybody would know to come to church. Well, anyway, the guy dies. So the priest goes down to the crier and says, hey, I want you to announce that I need another bell ringer. He says, sure. So he gets all these guys show up, but they're undesirables because they have to live at the church. They have to ring the bell all during the day, night, and live at the church. And he's like, I'm not hiring these guys. They cannot stay here. All of a sudden, this guy shows up. Good looking, dressed nice, speaks well. But then the priest realized, you have no arms. How the hell are you going to ring the bell? He goes, watch, I'll show you. He walks over to the bell and he goes, ding. So the priest looks at him and says, that's nice, but it needs to ring loud. How are they going to hear it on the other side of town? He goes, no worries. He goes over to the wall, puts his foot against it, runs as fast as he can at that bell, misses the bell, falls down the shaft, bam, splatters dead on the ground. It's a great joke, right? So anyway, the preacher walks down the shaft, gets to the bottom, and he's looking at the dead body. And the nun says, Father, do you know this guy? He says, I don't know his name, but his face rings a bell. Yes. I learned laughter again. I didn't have laughter, a sense of humor, laughter, that was gone. You guys taught me that again. You